This is Jamie with Warrior Spotlight, where the stories are real, the emotions are raw, and the hearts are courageous. So we are doing a very special show today, highlighting our Warrior for our upcoming August 28th fundraiser. And so we decided to go ahead and tape one of our shows. Well, it's live, and then we'll send it out. We know most of you are working, right?
Yeah.
But we're so excited. So I've not seen Louis in quite some time.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about how we met too a little bit as
Yeah,
well. But we have a very special guest, Louis Belluomini. Did I do it right?
You did. That was very Italian.
Okay. I always butcher his name. And then you can see just a little bit down here on the floor. This is his partner in crime. This is Star. His how do you reference her?
Service dog.
His service dog.
Yeah.
So we will get into Star and Louis, and so we're so excited to do this.
Yeah, me too. Always have to come.
So it's Louis and I met. It's like that. What is that bacon guy's name? Kevin Bacon.
Oh yeah.
Like it's always 7 removed from Kevin Bacon or something. Yeah. So Cheryl, I don't know. Everybody knows Kevin Bacon. So Cheryl, who is she's at JDRM. She is one of our primary events committee. Who helps us, and she's just amazing, right? And so Cheryl introduced me to Louis. Mm-hmm. And I'm not even really sure how you guys know each other. I don't
Through
know.
my wife.
Oh, okay.
So, my wife's friend is related. That's how. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So she knew us kind of through that. So yeah.
So Cheryl connected us, obviously, with what we do, me being a military person, and Louis was a captain in the Army, and he was a medic.
I was medic on the civilian side, not in the Army.
Okay, medic on the civilian side. I want to make sure we clarify that. Sorry.
That's okay.
But you're going to tell us exactly.
Yeah, we'll get into it. That's fine.
But yeah, we're super excited. Louis and I have, it's probably been 2 years now, maybe 2.5 years, Stephen?
Yeah.
That we've known each other.
Maybe probably longer, maybe.
Yeah, probably as fast as time flies. Yeah. Right, yeah.
Especially 2020.
I know, 2020. Let's just erase that year.
Get it out of here.
Yeah. So we're going to talk a little bit. I want you to start with, give us a little bit of your background, your growing up kind of background.
Okay. So, we were on, when were we on the show last? That was probably a couple of years ago now, right?
Yeah. So it had been somewhere in 2019 because 2020 they shut us down. On the radio show.
Okay. So if you've joined since then, my name's Louis, like she mentioned, and Star. So I was in the military for 9 years, deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan, got out as a captain, and growing up, so to backtrack, I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio, and went to high school at St. Edward High School. Any Clevelanders would know St. Edward High School. Old boys school, great school. Mm-hmm. And then after high school, went to college at Bowling Green State University. And family was always heavily into law enforcement or military. So my grandfathers were in the military. My dad was drafted during Vietnam. And my dad's side was always military police. Mm-hmm. So that's what I ended up doing. One of the things I ended up doing. So when I went to college, I was enlisted at the time, working as a psychological operations specialist, and then tried to go to school full-time during that time period at Bowling Green, and then eventually...
So were you in a ROTC program?
Yes, I was going to say eventually went to ROTC at Bowling Green. And then after graduation, commissioned, changed jobs a little bit. Military police, went to school for all that, and then deployed. So now live in Findlay, Ohio. If anybody is listening from Findlay, great little city. And got my red on today.
Mm-hmm. That shirt is so freaking cool.
Isn't it?
It is amazing.
So this is Canines for Warriors shirt that you can actually purchase on Canines for Warriors website.
Perfect, because I was going to ask about the back.
Yeah. Did you see the back?
Let's see the back.
There we go. Yeah.
Oh yeah, we've got your set. Just like us. Yeah, I love it.
I know, it's good phrase.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So, yeah, so got my red on today, and then you're sporting our shirt from work.
Let me show you.
Our PR shirt there. So I work for Ohio. Yeah, that looks really good there.
A little Vanna White.
Right. That was our EMS week shirt this year. Mm-hmm. So every year there's a themed EMS week. So I work as a paramedic now on the civilian
side. I'm going to
stop. Okay, go ahead.
Yep.
All right, yeah.
I'm going to direct it.
All right, go ahead.
We take people through the journey of how you got there. Mm-hmm. So,
I just keep going. So.
It's okay. This is my job. This is what I do.
Right.
Your show, but I control it.
Yeah.
Keep you on the path.
For sure. That's what I need.
Yeah. So how long were you in the Army for?
9 years.
Okay.
Got out in 2015.
And you did what again in the Army?
Psychological operations and then military police.
Okay, so tell us what psychological operations mean. So I say this a lot on my show, mm-hmm. And as I told you prior to, this is about reaching the people who are isolating or family members who don't know that there's resources, because so many of the stories of my guests relate to the people who are out there listening, right?
Yeah.
But it's just as much, right? It's great for the civilians who are watching to know how they can support us and understand a little bit more, right?
Right.
So that transition from military life into the civilian world, the civilians just don't understand, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And sometimes, we just move past what we do, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they don't really have an understanding of what we do. So we just tell them just a little bit about what that meant.
Yeah. So the easiest way to kind of explain it is our job is to get inside the mind of the enemy. So heavy into combat areas, specifically, in Iraq and Afghanistan were pretty heavy because, we had a lot high value targets. If anybody remembers the deck of cards in the beginning of the war, when we had the deck of cards with the faces on it so that everybody could start kind of remembering those. So the idea was to get in the minds of the enemy and change their way of thinking, or get them to confess information, basically. So the biggest way that I try to describe it, and I think it's kind of the easiest way to describe it, is I reference it to a police department locally. So like you have your SWAT team, you have your detectives. Detectives usually go with the SWAT team when they go to get somebody important. That psychological operations is like the detective, and then we always deploy in teams of usually like 3 or 4, maybe more, with all different types of units, but mostly it usually ends up falling into like special forces groups or infantry or somewhere that's, it could be combat military police where you're going to get those bad people. Mm-hmm. So a lot of heavy things are like interrogation, so like how you see in the movies where you hear the music blasting in the prisons and things like that. That's the stuff that psychological operations specializes in, to really focus on how to break a person down to get the information we need. That's kind of the easiest way to explain it.
Sure.
Because it's kind of a complicated role.
But even so someone like me who's been in for 25 years, right? So that is nothing that I was zero part of that, right? So even for me, for military, like that is amazing and interesting to hear, right? So my follow-on question to you is, how did you choose that path, or how did you get selected for that career field?
I wish I could kind of answer that. I don't know. When I enlisted, it was just one of the options when I enlisted, I guess. So, it really kind of spoke to me. It was like a newer branch at the time too of the Army. So when I say branch, but So it wasn't very, it wasn't extremely popular, I guess, at the time, because it was kind of newer. Like there was other positions that kind of just did that as like a military police officer would be trained maybe to do stuff like that type of thing. But then the focus was, hey, we need to focus on this more, so then open that type of a branch. And so I kind of just fell into it. I loved it. It was pretty awesome. The guys were all great. And it was just definitely an interesting job. So I was also, when I was psychological operations, it was the unit I was attached to was an airborne unit. So, but all we did was jump out of helicopters, which you don't hear a lot. So after I got back from airborne school and jumped out of a plane several times, I didn't really jump out of a plane much after that, because a lot of it was helicopters getting up to a certain level and then jumping out that way, because we needed fast insertion as opposed to long insertion, where fast insertion would, you might be visible, but need to get in fast. Long insertion would have been up high where you can't be seen and take the time to get down. So our unit was more specialized into a fast insertion type area. So
tell us, because I want to know, right?
Yeah.
And I'm more intrigued with this now because of what my daughter does, right? As the helicopter,
Yes.
Black Hawk pilot,
Yeah.
Right? And so
Blackhawks were pretty typical for us to jump out of.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And this just helps me get inside of what, I mean, she's the pilot in it, but it's like who she's carrying, because she's a medic unit, right?
Yeah.
So that's what her mission is, right?
Yeah.
But okay, so let's say you're doing your fast insertion, right? So like what typically, and I don't, if you can say or you can't say, I'm super cool with that.
Sure.
Because I understand, right? But is it like within 10 minutes you're on the ground, and then when
Usually,
you're on the ground, you're in a specific location, and then you're like, we don't get to see it on the movies, but I want to hear what really happens.
So it depends. You still jump out at pretty high level. I mean, it's like, I think it's been a while, but I think 3,000 to 6,000 maybe feet. So, so it's low, but it's still high type thing.
Yeah.
Even, gosh, at like 40,000 feet, it doesn't take that long necessarily to get down to the ground. So yeah, fast would be pretty quickly, like, in a few minutes. And so it gets dangerous because you have to use a chute. You don't have rope long enough, nor do you want to go down rope that far.
No.
So
not enemy territory.
Right.
Just dangling.
Yeah. So you would jump with a chute, and so your main chute would deploy. But if your main chute didn't deploy, you have a backup chute, but you're time sensitive, so you might not have time to pull a backup chute. Whereas high, you do have that time for sure. So yeah, it's more of a quick type thing, down in a matter of minutes, usually into like an LZ or something, and then move on from there. So yeah, it wouldn't be a place that you would jump into and stay. It would be a place that you would jump into and move. Yeah, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So combat Blackhawks or medic Blackhawks. I worked a lot with medic Blackhawks in Iraq and Afghanistan. That's a different, much different mindset. They're more going into maybe even combat zones or areas to pick people up and bring them back to the hospital, or taking out of the hospital, going somewhere else, something like that. Because I worked as a flight medic, so just on the civilian side, so a little different. But yeah, they were always great pilots. All the military pilots were always great. They were a lot of fun. Yeah, they're always like, watch this, like,
Yeah, I live totally vicariously through my daughter because she's this cute little, 5'7" blonde, right? Just
Mhm.
beautiful, right?
Mhm.
And she flies a Black Hawk.
Yeah.
I mean, that is freaking badass.
Yeah.
You
She's
know?
probably got all the boys chasing after her.
She just recently got married, so she's
Oh,
sad.
there you go. Yeah.
They're sad.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Aw.
That's funny.
Yeah. So,
So, how
good
many-
for her.
Yeah.
And if she's watching or listening,
Mhm.
thank you for your service. You are amazing.
Mhm.
And you have an amazing mom.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So how many tours did you do?
I did one tour in Iraq, one tour in Afghanistan.
More than enough, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think that most people, and maybe you can back me up on this, but most people that deployed to those areas would say they would go back again.
Oh yeah.
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 I mean,
for sure.
I don't think people. I wish it would be more public to the fact that the soldiers, airmen, everybody that's been there, that was there, if you talk to them, they're willing to go back because of what they seen and were able to do and help in many situations. And that's how I feel. I felt like we did a lot of good, and nobody deserves to be an innocent person living in that type of environment for the rest of their life. So
yeah.
So yeah. Anyways, but that's.
And absolutely. So while you're there and in it, right?
Mhm.
You're in it,
Yeah.
right? And I know even being in a guard unit, there wasn't anybody who didn't want. I mean, people were fighting for positions to be able to go as part of the flight package, right? And deploy. And so they were never short of people to go.
No.
And people could never understand. They're like, why would you want to do that? Well, it's like being a football player, right? So I break it down to that. It's like being a football player, practicing every day, and then never getting to play.
Yep.
Right?
That's.
So when you have that opportunity to go and participate and do your job that you're tasked with, right? Because so many people get that misconstrued too. They're like, well, I was there, but I was only a cook, or,
right.
I was only personnel. Yeah, but every person that deploys is an important position. You've done what your job is tasked with.
Right.
And so.
And then, you're in a combat zone. Nothing's safe, so bombings on the base and everything. Everybody goes through the same stuff. Everybody could be
mortar attacks.
Yeah. It doesn't matter how much you've seen or how little you've seen. One thing can affect you for sure. And that's what people don't think about, especially when it comes to maybe their buddy. He's got this issue because of this. I don't. I was there. It's not like that.
No.
So, yeah.
So, if you'll touch on that just briefly, right? Because I share that experience, right? And this is, again, for the civilian populace, right? The military people understand this, right? So we could be side by side standing there and endure the same thing, but have two different outcomes.
Absolutely.
Correct?
Yes.
Okay. So give me your perspective on that.
So let's kind of reflect on it as on the civilian side. So it's the same as me and you were walking down the street. We saw a car accident, right? And we both ran over to help the person. And for some reason, it affected me more than you. So that happens quite a bit, one trauma incident can affect somebody for the rest of their life. It doesn't matter how big it is or how small. And that's what, that's where a lot of that stigma comes from, is like, me and you know each other. We've known each other for 20 years and I didn't have an issue with it. Why did you, So I hate that. I really do. Like, I just, it's very frustrating because, when you're going through stuff like this, first of all, the last thing you need is to lose friends or colleagues or people that you were in the situation with that you need to lean on. And too often do people, disappear because you are strong enough to bring to light your situation and talk about it and try to get it fixed, So I think that's the easiest way to kind of relate it to civilian life.
Mm-hmm.
On the military side of things, just to kind of key in a little bit there, for example, we were short gunners at one point. We pulled the cooks to do that. You're still a soldier. You're still an airman. You're still, a Marine. Whatever it may be, your job is to hold a gun, regardless of what you do. So you may always be put into that situation. However, you don't always need to be in that situation to be affected by something. If people didn't think that, the reality is that, bombs come over the walls when you're in a combat zone. There's all kinds of things, small arms attacks. It's no different than being in the city 24/7, so, and dealing with it all the time. You might have it, occasionally or something like that, but that cook is running out to help somebody if that happens, or you're still a military member. You're still a soldier, or I always say soldier because military or army.
Oh yeah,
but,
of course, yeah.
I feel like all soldiers, just different, wording.
Of
So,
course.
anyways, but yeah, I feel like that's the easiest way to relate it. Car accident, in a combat zone, you're either out in it all the time, maybe not all the time, back on base, but you still get affected by it regardless. Combat zones are never easy to deal with.
Right.
Yeah. And
it could be people, civilians, right? The biggest picture is they'll say, especially, and I try to say this in the most sensitive way because I am military, right?
Yeah.
So if you don't have obvious results from the military, right? Like missing limbs, right?
Right.
And heaven forbid for the people who have sacrificed that and the ones who have sacrificed the ultimate sacrifice, right? But people don't understand because you look like a quote unquote normal Joe, right? And that's the message that I really try to send out to people because you have no idea what is on the inside, right?
Right.
And so, and not that everybody's going to know that, and the same stuff happens on the civilian side, right?
Right.
Because it's not necessarily all combat related, right? So there's sexual trauma, there's suicides of your buddies, and there's a multitude of things that happen, right?
Yeah.
And especially throughout a career, right?
Yeah.
And because I talk about the mindset being changed during basic training, anyways, right?
Right.
So the mindset is changed at that point, right? Because I talk about going from an I to a we, right? And then when you get back out, you're not.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that I is a terrible part.
Oh yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
So, but thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
So we want to transition into Miss Star. Tell us about Star.
Yeah, so Star is a 5-year-old golden retriever now, 5 years old. We came together in September of 2016 from the program Canines for Warriors out of Point of Vedra, Florida, near Jacksonville. Fort Lauderdale? No, Jacksonville. I always get the two confused. So I think it's Jacksonville.
It's in Florida.
Yeah, it's in Florida. If you're a golfer, they're famous for their golf course, Point of Vedra, Florida. They're famous for their 17th hole. Oh. So, because it's on an island.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So people that are golfers, they're probably like, oh yeah. So anyways, Canines for Warriors is located there. It's a program only for military veterans post 9/11 that are struggling with or diagnosed, I should say, with PTSD, traumatic brain injury, or sexual assault in the military. And so it's individuals that have, I want to say exhausted all efforts, but that's not necessary to do that. But most of the people that go through the program will say, like, this was my final attempt, like this was the last thing that I could do on the list of things to do before that they might commit suicide or fall into a deeper depression. They just, it's kind of like the last, I don't want to say like the dog is the last thing for everybody's list, but a lot of people will say this was my last ditch effort,
right? Sure.
So anyways,
what was it for you?
I would say it was my last ditch effort.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I didn't really, the things that come to mind first are counseling, medications, um, just different ways to get out of your brain,
Mhm.
whether that's music, playing the guitar, different things. So I feel like I've tried a lot of stuff before I went to get her. And let's be frank, PTSD, especially if it's PTSD that you're dealing with, never goes away. It's just about controlling as best you can.
And I want to just intervene there. So on the 28th, you're going to share a little bit more insight to your journey through that and STAR. So we're just giving you some teeth.
Yeah. We got plenty to talk about.
Oh, heck yeah, it's a journey. Yeah. Show's not long enough.
Right.
You got to come to the 28th.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Come to the 28th, see STAR at least, right?
Yeah.
But Canines for Warriors it's a great program. STAR came from there. She was sponsored by Eastern Star Masons in New York. So sponsorship of dogs. All dogs are sponsored through the program so that the veteran doesn't have to pay anything.
It's amazing.
Yeah. So the Eastern Star Masons out of New York, they put together a fundraiser to raise funds for the dog.
And the funds are what, approximately?
$25,000. Yeah.
Just round that off. $25,000
is
what it takes to get an amazing dog like this for an amazing hero.
Yeah, a lot of money. But you can tell the money was worth the training because she is a very well-trained dog. That was, so Canines for Warriors, trained her once she got sponsored, and then I went down to the program for 3 weeks to train with her, and we met in the beginning, and then have been together ever since. And I don't want to share too much because I definitely want, we will dive into that on the 28th a lot more. So that's kind of probably the best summary right now, unless there's something you think of.
No. And STAR goes everywhere with you, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So since we've been together in September of 2016, she has not left my side.
Nice.
Yeah. Which can be very frustrating at times. Not gonna lie.
Oh, sure.
I wasn't used to it in the beginning, and I mean, now I'm used to it. She's just an attachment of me, but going back to that whole civilian view of what PTSD is and somebody struggling with it, I hate the fact, and I think most people with service dogs will say the same thing, I hate when I go into Walmart and people just stare, because, or say something, because they know I have an issue, right? There's obviously a reason for the dog to be here. So that's difficult, but those are the things that you have to outweigh. Do you deal with that minorly? I feel like it's minor, something that just have to deal with, or do you deal with the PTSD episodes? And obviously you don't want to deal with PTSD episodes because you've been trying things. So
yeah. And not that it's easy, and not that I would know, right? Because I don't have a service dog.
Well, we'll strap her to you one day.
Okay. That'd be great.
Jump in.
But I think
water's fine.
Because I know I try to spend. When I first got out, there was that frustration, right? Like, these civilians are such idiots, right? They don't understand. Well, now that I'm 3-4 years out, right, I understand that how would they possibly understand, right? So it's just as much our responsibility to educate them as much as possible, right? Yeah. But that's that fine line between managing that PTSD or that anxiety or anger, right? Once they say something stupid, right? And my best guess of the 80% of people, right? Because, I don't have a service dog. So when I look, like, when I'm somewhere and I see someone with a service dog, I am in awe of the support that they have from that animal. Right. Right? Not like, oh, they must be pretty effed up. You know what I mean? Yeah. I don't look at it that way. I'm like, amazing. This person did something amazing, or this person has struggles where they have to have that companion. which is incredible.
Yeah, and I think that that's what comes to your mind because that's what you know as far as being in the military and having that type of background. And I think I would say first responders and people in that community probably think the same way, but outside of that, I don't think they do, and that's the hard part, really hard part, because trying to get them to understand, or I just wish kind of sometimes I could put my brain on a platter and just let people see on the wall what it's reflecting.
Oh yeah.
And so, but you can never do that, and so it's difficult even when you're trying to explain it to your family members or your wife, your husband, your kids. It's really, really hard, because it's just, there's no, first of all, you would never want to put them in the environment you were in, right? And I always say that I would never want, and I tell my wife, I would never want you to experience what I did to end up with these issues. And so, I think most people would say that, but it doesn't matter what you say. You can say everything in the world, but it's only going to give you a touch of what is going on, really. So it's really hard to kind of explain, like, this is the norm for me, and this is what I fight with every day. And it's just, it doesn't get, I don't want to say it doesn't get better. It gets easier, but it doesn't go away, so it's really a big struggle when it comes to that. And I think that's why there's such a stigma around PTSD, and this is PTSD Awareness Month. So it's just something that I think we've also come a long way to recognize it, and so I think it's really starting to get a little bit easier, but it's still very difficult. Got to use those times like PTSD Awareness Month to really bring the light in a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah.
So I do want to say this about her, right?
Yeah.
Because I think this will be intriguing for them.
Sure.
To state what she was the first to do.
So she is the first EMS canine. We're the first EMS canine team in the nation. Now, so what that means is that Star, had to be with me. I was a paramedic, or I still am a paramedic, and it just happens to be that I'm a paramedic and I work on an ambulance. Well, nobody's ever thought of that before, and I was the first one to do that. So now, she goes to work with me every day. She's been on the ambulance or emergency vehicles most of her life, 4 years now. And so we're the first EMS canine team in the nation to be recognized. And, we try to really bring that out to the world as much as possible, because I feel like it's important. There's we're seeing the same things in first responders, especially now with COVID and everything. And this is an option that works, and she's been phenomenal on the squad. We've never had a complaint. Everybody's loved her. The patients love her. It's really a kind of a blessing in disguise, because I think it doesn't just help me, but it helps a lot of people on that squad.
So you were able to introduce something without the thought process, and it just became a blessing to the people who are riding in that ambulance, so you can maintain a job. Right?
Yeah.
Then, and I know you'll talk a little bit about that too, her importance role of how you in the civilian sector manage your life with her.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a big, long conversation for sure.
Yeah.
There's a lot that could be talked about with that.
So let's get into the good stuff now of what you're doing now, right?
Yeah.
And I'm so excited for you. I'm so excited.
Thanks.
So tell everybody I know you just gave them just a little bit. Tell them what you're doing.
Yeah.
What your vehicle, all that, what you're doing.
Okay. So Star and I now work for Ohio Ambulance out of Cleveland and Cincinnati. We have a division in Cincinnati. Headquarters is in Cleveland, and so we're working remotely as well as on site. So we'll go to Cleveland, Cincinnati every so often.
Yes. Will you stretch over here? You want to say hi to everybody? Go ahead.
Yeah. This
This was this.
is what she does.
Here.
It's like, get stretching, get some petting. Then she puts her paws up. That's
Okay, I'll let you.
that's the usual. So we both, we work for Ohio Ambulance now. I was hired in there to be their director of growth and development, so focusing on recruiting and retention. And Star, obviously still goes to work with me if we're on the ambulance. At any point in time, she's on the ambulance. And then we run a paramedic intercept unit to...
Say that slow, because I think that's so cool. It just sounds cool.
Paramedic intercept unit.
Yeah!
Yes. So, or known as, there's several different phrases for it. Chase car, echo unit. Everybody probably knows. Anyways, it's an SUV. And we'll respond if there's any needs in the field for us to get to them, to provide any type of intervention. And then, with getting around the state, focusing on recruiting and retention. Star, over here. Hey, down. Yeah, we got one on the table there. She always tries to go behind everything.
Right.
So yeah, and then so the company has been amazing. Ohio Ambulance has been just phenomenal. They are also hiring EMTs and paramedics, as it's very difficult right now with the EMS community, because with COVID, there's people that just didn't want to deal with COVID, and so have gotten out, and so it's been a struggle. So any of those medics out there from the military, you guys got your EMT license, come give me a call or look us up. And yeah, they've been fantastic. They've really embraced Star and I. So I couldn't be more honored and thrilled to be a part of the company. They just, they've been fantastic. So Star, they just recently decaled the vehicle that we use, and Star's on the side of the vehicle with big flag and everything.
We're going to take pictures and post it.
Okay, so
definitely.
check it out because it is really cool. They did a great job advertising vehicles in Cincinnati, Ohio, did it.
Nice.
So, and they were fantastic too. So, yeah, it's been really great. So we got our hands in a few different pots right now. And I don't know if we had this discussion, but in the beginning of COVID, the way that Star operates, and this is a longer discussion, but for the short version, the way that she operates is she works off of skin cell changes and scent. So our skin cell changes have different scent. She picks it up. She responds to that. So it got me thinking back in March when COVID hit. I said, there's got to be a way that she can pick up COVID. Got to be a way, because although the virus doesn't have a scent, when we get infected with it, we give off a different skin cell change. We have to. So I don't want to say I was right, because that just sounds arrogant, but I was kind of right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I started training her to pick it up, and she picked it up so fast, and so she can detect it.
Wow.
So she's been trained to detect COVID. I might be able to give you some videos on that, and maybe you could post that too. But it was surprisingly easy, And it's not a foolproof thing, but who knew that we were going to have this problem, right?
Right, yeah.
So if we could use another tool in our kit, why not?
Yeah, and the dogs, there's so many dogs are trained for the scent anyways, right? So they're trained with scent.
Yeah. And when we got on the squad originally, back when we first came back, we cross-trained her also for scent tracking, so she could scent track people if we had a lost victim. So she was able to do that, and then when COVID hit, we just kind of adapted into that to see if we can make it happen, and sure enough, yeah, she did great. The worst part about it was I was not really thinking the big picture, and so going to all these different places and then her hitting on something really put me in a bind. I'm like, what do I do in this situation, right? Like just going to Walmart, or something like that. I didn't really think about the civilian side of things going everywhere, her picking that scent up.
Oh.
Yeah, I was thinking more to utilize her in the field when we're working.
Right.
And didn't take into consideration she's with me all the time.
Yeah, right.
And we're going everywhere together.
Right, yeah.
So that was interesting, But yeah, it's been...
well, at least you can keep your distance from them then if you're in the grocery store or something.
That's true, yeah. Yeah. And I wasn't too concerned about it. I never got COVID. And to be honest, a lot of the times I followed protocol, wearing what we had to wear on squad, but a lot of times I didn't really feel I needed to be that cautious because she was always doing it.
And she wore masks too, right?
She did.
So I'm gonna pull a few of those pictures and put them out there too, because I was like, that is amazing.
Yeah.
That is amazing. Not only, she is full spectrum, part of the EMS, wore the mask, amazing, right?
Yeah,
Did somebody do a interview with you? Yeah, I thought I seen it somewhere.
Yeah, Rachel Ray.
Oh, yes, that's it. Yeah.
So we were on the Rachel Ray show back last Veterans Day, this past Veterans Day in November, and I thought it would be funny to put her in it like right off the bat and then take it off. So I think Rachel got a kick out of it. But yeah, she had her mask is an N95 mask that they made specific for the dogs in California for the wildfires.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and then she has goggles, booties, all that stuff. So it was
I think
really...
I've seen pictures of her in her goggles too.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I think I had them both on the Rachel Ray show, I believe. But she adapted to it very easily. Like I could probably do anything with her and she wouldn't care, She's just really gotten into the routine of what new thing am I going to do today,
right?
So I think she's pretty used to it. So yeah.
So with this new EMS,
yes, Ohio ambulance,
yes,
yeah.
So you guys are looking. So what does a team look like? What will it look like?
Yeah, as far as like, you mean, say that again.
So I know you're the first
Yes.
team. You're a team.
Yeah.
But you're looking to grow that.
Well, yeah.
Eventually.
We're definitely. I've been trying to grow the thought into the first responder community across the nation. We've traveled across the country trying to bring awareness to this is an option for first responders, and it works. So I've really geared a lot into that, not pulling away from the military, but I feel like there is quite a bit of support for the military right now when it comes to this. But first responders, especially after COVID, is not really getting much help in that category. So we try to focus on that, and we try to use, our presence, the vehicle, as kind of a billboard to say it's okay. This was my service dog. She's with me now, and she works with me, and it's okay. And so we're really trying to just keep open to what any option we have to utilize her or us in that category. And so I'm sure, as time goes on here, we'll get more advanced in the options that we can provide to the community and everything with her. She's my service dog primarily, but I always think like if we could utilize her for other things and keep her brain turning, why not?
Oh yeah, of course.
So, and Ohio Ambulance has been great in supporting us on that.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's been fantastic. So great place to work, great family type environment, and a lot of for the military medics or anybody that maybe has an EMT or paramedic license listening, very welcoming to veterans, very veteran supported company. They really try to hire veterans as much as they can. And, it's just a great environment to be in. Yeah. And there's a lot of options if you want to go to school to be an EMT. We have internship programs, which a lot of places, I don't know anybody else that has an internship program for EMT school. So we have internship programs. We have a lot of opportunities that could really take advantage of. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, if you want to help people.
Yeah. So is there anything else that you want to add, say, plug? Yeah.
Oh
my gosh. Yes. I think I put this video here. So I'm going to let you plug this.
Okay. So this is the movie that we were in a movie called A New Leash on Life, Canines for Warriors story. And that's actually us on both sides there. It's a documentary series that followed 3 of us veteran teams that went through Canines for Warriors, and the docuseries was meant to bring attention to what Canines for Warriors is doing and how they're really benefiting and putting into a lot of work into stopping the 22 a day veteran suicide. And it's an amazing program. There's quite a list of veterans waiting to get there, and dogs. An amazing program started by 2 fantastic people, Sherry Duvall, who just passed away not too long ago. God rest her soul. She was an amazing woman. And Brett Simon, her son. So they made this docuseries in order to bring attention to what they do and to see on a day-to-day basis what we do, so you can see what the dog is trained for and how they act, and how obedient they are. So you get to see us on the ambulance on there. You get to see the other 2 canine teams. It's on Amazon Prime. You can look it up, and that's actually the picture that you'll see that's on the back there. That's the silhouette you see when you pull it up. And it was great. It won 5 Emmy Awards, 3 Telly Awards. Very well put together. DNA Films put it together, and they were fantastic. Great people. Couldn't have been a greater experience. And Amazon and DNA Films liked it so much they made it to a series and added some different episodes. And so the movie is the first part, follows all 3 of us, and then the 4th episode is just our story. I think Shiloh and Javi, their episode is the first one, Adam and Molly's second, and then us third. So movie, and then that order, and then all 3 of us are in the movie. So great experience, great time.
And we'll put all those links out there too to Amazon. So 'cause there's like a little clip that you can. Yeah,
for free. You can watch the trailer, and it's I think it's 99 cents to watch the movie on Amazon. So
it is 99.
99 cents. 99 cents.
Thanks, Kyle. The voice from the back.
Yeah.
But
it used to be free. These. I don't know why it changed to 99 cents. I wish I had an answer for that.
Yeah, right. We will have these at the event.
Yes.
Louis will sign them.
Yeah, if you want.
If you want a signed copy of this movie. So
sure. I'm not that big of a star, so it's not going to be, a lot of money or anything. It might be worth 25 cents later down the line.
Typical modest.
We'll have Star sign it. Star can sign it.
That's funny. Yeah, you're not going to run off and sell it.
Yeah.
He's super cool.
Oh, well, thank you. You are too. And all of you are. Thank you for your service, everybody that is on and listening that has been in the military.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we thank you so much, Louis, for taking the time to come
thank
up
you
here.
for having us.
We look forward to seeing you on the 28th and working some projects with you in the future.
Yes.
Super excited about that.
Yeah.
And of course, we love Star.
Of course. Everybody does.
And thank you for the merch.
Yeah.
We're super excited about the merch.
Yeah. Check out Ohio Ambulance. reach out to me if you need a job or want or need a job. Yeah, it's a great place and wear it proudly.
I'm going to. So we will put all those links on right after this. So this way you guys know how to get in touch with everybody. You can go out to the Amazon and all those additional links. So we do want to send a shout out to our sponsor, Mary Beth. She's with Healing Connections. She's the one who sponsors the show.
Very cool.
Yep, she is our mental health person, so we greatly appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you, Mary Beth.
Yeah. So you guys have a great afternoon, and we are looking forward to putting the show on.
Yeah.
See you later.
See you soon. Thank you.